In terms of city leaders, you're only the second one to speak in 19 days. Edwin Peacock did it a week later. Mayor Vilas has gone into hiding. Nothing from Johnny Jennings. Nothing from Spencer Merriweather. Why are you now speaking?
The DA has been speaking for the last 3, 4, 5 years about the ability of getting more resources from the state of North Carolina to hire more DAs, to get better training for our magistrate. You can be a magistrate and don't have a law degree. That's insane, right? So he's been speaking up for years. Some of these problems aren't new, right? I only can speak for Malcolm Graham. And I'm very transparent. I wear my emotions on my shoulders. You guys know what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. And I think that it is time for elected officials, present company included, to speak truth to power, to tell people when they're right, to tell them when they're wrong, and to find the moral middle ground. All of Charlotte, from my perspective, the majority of Charlotte is in the middle. They want moderation. They don't want extremes, right? There's a moderate middle that we can find to solve community problems and bring everybody with us. And so why others aren't talking, you have to ask them that question. I continue to provide the leadership for the city. I continue to be open, honest, and accessible. And I continue to want to be a part of making our community better tomorrow than it is today.
What happened to Irina Zarutska is an absolute disgrace, a total failure of leadership here in Charlotte. A young woman comes to this country for the American dream only to be murdered in pursuit of that dream by a career criminal. Make no mistake, a career criminal who should have never been out on our streets. This is, ladies and gentlemen, was 100% preventable. This did not have to happen in our city. But this is what happens when you have weak, incompetent, and feckless leadership. The suspect, DeCarlos Brown, violent criminal, history of robbery with a deadly weapon, was let back on our streets. And why, you ask, was he let back on our streets? Because Mayor Vi Lyles and Teresa Stokes, an unelected magistrate, care more about their leftist ideology than they do about the safety of the people taking the light rail. While Vi Lyles and the justice system here in Mecklenburg are not taking action, I'll tell you who is taking action. President Trump is taking action. He's restoring law and order across this nation. He's putting the victims like Irina first. He's supporting our police, securing our borders, and keeping violent criminals where they belong, which is behind bars. Meanwhile, where's our congressional representative? Where's Alma Adams at in all of this? She's silent. She didn't say a word about this until Donald Trump said it first. And why didn't she say a word about it? Because she cares more about retaining what she calls her seat than she does about protecting the people of this district. And my message to Alma Adams is that seat doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the people of this district.
Charlotte has been my home now for almost 40 years. But today, I feel as though Charlotte has turned into a hidden war zone. Our nation and city just a few weeks ago experienced a tragedy. An evil spectacle presented its ugly head to our once family-centered community. And now, enough is enough. I've had enough of those leaders who pacify these horrible acts and pretend this isn't what it is. It is and was wicked and not the Charlotte we deserve. Irina Zarutska was one of God's creation, and just like you and me, she deserved to live her life without thinking that my leaders don't have my back.
3 weeks ago, when we had thought about coming here to Charlotte, at the primaries yesterday, we weren't convinced that anybody would come and cover our press conference. But with the horrific events of August 22nd, with the senseless death of Irina, we are saddened to have to come here today to talk about the failures, the ongoing failures of Charlotte leadership and the Democrat policies that allowed that senseless and horrific murder to occur. Let's be very clear. Crime is a choice, and Democrats have chosen to side with criminals. Their policies of appeasement Their weak on crime policies, their open door and revolving door policies in our criminal justice system and jails have allowed murderers back on the streets time and time again. As we see what took place, this is also indicative of, like I said, what's transpired across our state under the failed leadership of Roy Cooper as Attorney General and as Governor, where he perpetuated these policies through his task force that allowed over 3,500 individuals to be released, violent criminals back on the streets, the largest such in our state's history. Also supported by Josh Stein and Anita Earls as they helped champion his task force for these causes. It is time to end these movements of appeasement to criminals and to ensure that we have public safety and making sure that our folks across North Carolina, and especially here on the streets of Charlotte, can feel safe again.
Moments like this shake us at our very core. Moments like this shake us at our very core when a mentally unstable, repeat offender who should have been institutionalized murders an innocent woman on a public transit system that we are all charged to protect. We must stop and ask ourselves, what are our priorities? It is in moments like this that we must acknowledge, as a city and as a community, we have failed. We live in one of the most successful and prosperous cities in one of the most prosperous states in America. And yet, we look at our choices. We prioritize $645 million to the Panthers Stadium, while we know that we need 600 more police officers in Charlotte. Yes. We prioritize $245 million of upgrades to the Spectrum Center, including a $32 million practice facility for the Charlotte Hornets, while we know just miles away our jail is too small and our mental health facilities are overwhelmed. We prioritize spending $1 billion on this light rail system and this expansion right here in front of us, while ignoring a little dirty secret, that riding our light rail and our streetcar is free because we do not enforce fares. Ladies and gentlemen, sports arenas or safety? That is a question about this tragedy that forces us to confront it. Since the tragedy, I have called for two immediate actions. Number one, more cops and more CATS officials on our trains and our buses and at all of our transit facilities. We have 48 trains, ladies and gentlemen. This is not impossible. Fare enforcement. If you do not pay, you do not ride. The integrity of our system depends on it.
Today, we mourn Irina Zarutska. We are shocked and horrified at the graphic images of the crime that was committed against her. This crime is particularly heinous because she was an innocent, defenseless young woman, because she came here from Ukraine, a country that is heroically fighting our enemy, Russia, and has discredited them as a superpower. Because her assailant was a mentally ill, prior arrestee, had been in the system. How could all of this happen? We are shocked, horrified. We are also angry.
Yes.
We are angry.
Yes.
We are all angry. Not just Republicans, all of us. To have something like this happen in our city is an insult to everybody who lives here.
When innocent people are being murdered, especially teenagers, and their murderers are having charges dropped, or they have judges that let them off on lenient crimes, or say they're a repeat offender that has been arrested and arrested and arrested over and over and over again. And they keep getting released and they keep getting released. And there's another victim and another victim and another victim. And right now we're seeing on the news an innocent woman that came from Ukraine. This woman felt safer coming from a war in Ukraine. She thought she was coming to America to be safe, and she was murdered on a train in cold blood, murdered. And we're seeing crimes like this day after day, night after night, and it goes on and on and on. And anybody wants to argue about the National Guard? What, you people want the National Guard coming in and handing out water bottles when there's some sort of natural disaster? Is that just what the National Guard is supposed to be for? Well, I'm going to tell you what's up. The National Guard is also here to protect and keep our streets and our country safe. They aren't meant to be sent over to foreign wars to go die in some foreign country. The National Guard should be used for Americans to be safe, businesses to be able to prosper, people to be able to walk with their families down the street.
The full video of Irina Zarutsky's murder has now been released. Don't look away. Don't turn your heads. Don't shut your eyes. Watch it. Because she had no choice but to look evil in the face. Her final moments were moments of terror, pain, and loneliness. While no one was able to lift a hand on that car to help her, you can see the killer walking away with his knife dripping in blood in chilling indifference. It is horrific, it is excruciating, but it must be seen by the public. Because these are not isolated tragedies. This is a result of failed policies, weak leadership, and a judicial system that protects criminals instead of innocent individuals. What the Democrats call restorative justice looks like Irina Zarutsky's murder. The suffering of you and your loved ones for their gain. Shame on the Mecklenburg County justice system. You failed to incarcerate an individual who had been arrested previously 14 times. Shame on the civic leadership of Charlotte. You failed to protect the very people you swore to serve. And shame on Mayor Vitaliles. You failed to offer anything other than platitudes and pandering instead of real, meaningful leadership.
It's a horrific incident. And, you know, our thoughts and prayers, heartfelt sentiments go out to the family. No family should ever experience anything like this. And by all accounts, the victim was a bright, vibrant, hopeful, optimistic person who was contributing to her community in Charlotte, and the sky was going to be the limit. I think it's outrageous that people are trying to politicize the death of this wonderful young lady. It's outrageous that anyone would politicize their death. What decency do people have at a moment like this, as opposed to trying to find common sense solutions? It's a horrific situation, and we should continue to examine thoughtful and decisive ways to drive down crime in the United States of America. In my view, we have to support local law enforcement.